Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Intern Club. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about three different things. Number one is going to be deferred MBAs. What is it and what you should know? Then we are going to be talking about what you could be doing right now, so close to the summer. Right now, it's about March. And we're going to talk, since the summer is so close, what you could be doing if you're still looking for an internship. And then the third topic, which is very similar, is a little bit of contingency planning. What you could be doing to prepare yourself for a possible summer where maybe you don't get an internship. What could you do to get ahead and stay on top of things and not fall back? So, topic number one, deferred MBAs. What are they? And what's a general thing that you should know about them? Number one with deferred MBAs is they are basically programs that allow you to start applying for an MBA during the senior year of college. Typically, applications open up at varying dates and applications close at varying dates depending on the school. But the gist is you apply as a college senior in general, and then you are admitted and can defer your enrollment for a period of years. Mike, do you want to touch on this? Maybe you want to introduce some of the schools that offer these programs?
Yeah, some of the schools that offer the deferred MBA programs are Stanford, Harvard, MIT, Wharton, University of Chicago, Northwestern, Yale, University of Virginia, Darden, a lot of top MBA programs, like MBA programs ranked top 10, very highly ranked programs.
And I want to emphasize, like, for everybody listening, these are the top ranked programs.
And they're the full-time MBA programs. This isn't like a special MBA program. It's not a part-time MBA program. But in our experience, both you and I were admitted to Harvard MBA, or both you and I were admitted to MBA programs. We were both admitted to Harvard MBA. You were also admitted where?
At University of Virginia.
Okay, so Matt was admitted at Harvard Business School and University of Virginia Darden. Those are full-time MBA programs. And then what you do is the idea is you get admitted if you are admitted. If you're not admitted, you can still apply for the full-time MBA, not deferred later on. That's my understanding. If you do get admitted, you go into industry or work or gain additional experience for an additional several years. I think typically it's about 2 to 4 years.
And I think also I just want to drive home the point that the many of the schools that do have these are the cream of the crop per se in terms of the rankings for MBA schools. They are the at the highest of the rankings.
Yeah, all you need to do is like look up the MBA
So
programs.
that's any student that maybe wants to learn more. You could look up MBA school rankings, and generally you'll find many of these schools at the top of the list. And that said, they are very competitive programs. And in terms of, we don't want to talk about this too much. I know we said we wanted to give a high level, but probably some general things to keep in mind or what a student can do to maybe get started if they think it might be for them is literally just check out the school websites, see what the deadlines are, see how the schools describe the programs. And some things to keep in mind are you may need to do some essays, get letter of recommendations, take a test. The basic options in general vary school from school, but is either the GMAT or the GRE. But those are some things to be looking out for if you're interested. But are you happy to close out this topic now?
Sure.
Cool. So, question number 2. It's currently March. What do you do if we are in March and you don't have an internship yet? One thing I would say is right now, it is still not too late to get an internship. It's March, like I said. The first internship I worked, I didn't get the offer until about the end of March. But that said, and students are still getting offers, but that said, time is of the essence at this point. There really is a small window to still get offers, especially offers for the summer, especially if you're looking at Fortune 500 opportunities. So basically, the idea is that if you are still looking and you want one of those Fortune 500 opportunities, something that is really important is you do make a final push to apply a lot.
You want to be applying regularly, but you also want to be looking for people posting. The other way to look at it is students might still be looking for internships, but also there might be companies trying to fill open positions that they were expecting to have filled. And so companies might be posting about open internship positions on LinkedIn or other forums. I think I've seen some on LinkedIn, and you want to look for those as well, because those are where not only like are you looking for an internship, but companies are looking for individuals to fill internship positions. And so if you can find posts like that or people advertising internships, that's another opportunity that could be very valuable, a good leverage opportunity, because both parties are interested in essentially making a deal happen where you get an internship and that company has an internship position filled ideally.
And I think also one thing I like to point out is that in the same sense of urgency you might have to get an internship as a student, these companies also feel a urgency as well to fill a position before the summer. So there's that urgency on the company's end. But I also like this example of just there's going to be some broad assumptions here with the math of getting an internship. If you assume, and this is a very large and brave assumption, that if you get an interview, you do well enough and you're actually going to get the offer, then all you need is one interview to get an offer. Likely, many students may need 2 or 3 interview invitations, but if we were just to make an assumption in this mathematical case that I'm about to make, that you only need one interview to get an offer, well, then we have to determine what number of basically applications do we have to send out to then get that one interview. And then we work backwards from that to find out, okay, what should our next week or 2 literally look like? So let's just say that math is, if I apply to 100 places, I get one interview. Now let's make that really brave assumption that you nail the interview to a T and you get the offer out of that. Then basically over the next 1-2 weeks, you got to be applying to 100 internships. Now, if the math is like you need 2 interviews, then you got to get 200 applications out.
Yeah, following that assumption, but it could be different for everybody, and it could be
Yes.
different based on the positions you're applying for. I think one of the big leverage, like I said before, the big leverage opportunity is companies looking to bring on interns this summer that don't have any interns yet. And if you're still looking for an internship and they're still looking for interns, ideally, if you all meet and are able to talk and you find somebody posting about internship opportunities or referencing internship opportunities that need to be filled for the summer, that could be a kind of a good environment. I'll put it that way. It doesn't guarantee you'll get an internship, but it could be a good environment that could be a bit more promising than just when companies are getting tons of applicants and they're not worried about filling the summer. But as summer's approaching, as you're worried about getting an internship, companies also might be worried about filling open positions.
And I think my point with the math there was more about just the volume and making sure students don't underestimate the volume of effort and output that's required on their end. So I think that's a point. Just having at this point doing a final. I would recommend a final push to get a lot of applications out, and then mixing that with what you said, that with a combination of just being strategically finding companies who are making it known in public that they're still hiring.
Yep.
Whether maybe they're on other social media saying we're hiring. Maybe there's employees of the company saying we're on social media saying we're hiring, and that's another avenue. So being strategic with finding those opportunities, and then also one thing I would say is look at more local companies and smaller companies as well, because they may be receiving in general less applications than some of the larger companies.
I think a lot of students, we talked about this in last week's episode, are focused on a lot of the super large companies and forget about other companies. The point is, students might just be looking for really big companies, and when those opportunities are going down or limited or not available any longer, that doesn't mean that there's no longer a chance to get an internship. There could be many other different companies that are going to be hiring, companies that you know of offhand, companies that you've read about in the news, and companies that you're just learning about for the first time.
And then I think another thing too, to close out this, would be just there. That's one topic of broadening your search, but the general idea of just broadening the search. If you've been focused on a specific geography, maybe expanding that map. If you've been focused on a specific type of role, expanding that map and getting creative with it. Because I think one example that comes to my mind, which is thinking outside of the box, is if you study, say, mechanical engineering, maybe you've been looking at design roles, but did you know that with a mechanical engineering background, you could potentially be applying to sales engineering internships, or you could be applying to supply chain internships. For example, that's a little creative. Supply chain, you see many of those supply chain internships at companies. You see what their majors are, that you read the job description and you see what sort of majors they're asking for. You'll see engineering, you'll see supply chain, you'll see business. So maybe being more creative with the types of positions that literally the types of positions you're looking for.
So should we move into what you should be doing if you don't have an
I think that's a
internship
great
yet?
topic. I would say one of the most important things that you could potentially be doing is, well, I don't want to say they're probably all very important, but one thing that I think is important is looking at co-op positions for the fall. Because many companies now that we're at the end of the spring semester and going to be the beginning of the summer will start posting those co-op positions.
And then on top of looking for co-op positions in the fall, if that's something you want to go to, that's something that interests you, that's definitely an option. Another thing to do is to be looking at gaining additional professional skills, whether that's taking free online certifications, other online certifications, or personal projects to be able to develop your skills and expertise. That's a way to go into the fall recruiting season, showing employers that you are focused on developing your skills professionally and that you're serious about getting an internship and that you want to be growing your career, developing skills, becoming more of an attractive candidate for that fall internship recruiting season.
And I think another thing too with that is specifically focusing on skills that maybe that you lack. So if you applied to a bunch of internships and you found that with every internship there was like a specific skill that was like listed in all of them that you don't have, maybe you take some time this summer to do, like you mentioned, a certification or a course or a project to show some level of competency with that skill and actually develop that skill.
A third thing that students can do that might be underrated actually in the whole internship chat community would be just getting part-time job experience or a summer job experience. Lifeguarding, working at a local coffee shop as a barista, like I don't know, other like part-time jobs, maybe those are full-time jobs. But just having that work experience, even if it's not an internship related to your major, is still valuable because you can acquire skills. You are in that experience being trusted on by a company, being trusted by other team members to be able to do your role. It's similar to a type of internship environment that you might be looking for, just doing different work in a different field.
So I think that's a good point as well. Work experience doesn't matter if you're working at a movie theater, you're working at a grocery store, or you're working as a server or as a lifeguard. That type of work experience over the summer is going to show you used that time productively. You had responsibility. You were actually doing something with your time. And what I think is interesting too is that this can be sort of coupled. Let's say you do that maybe 20 hours a week. That can be coupled with maybe that certification that you do or that personal project. So you double up some of these. But another thing I would recommend looking at or considering is maybe actually taking a course for credit over the summer. Can you take a course for credit over the summer to maybe help you graduate a little earlier or help and lighten the load during the semester so that during the semester you then have a little bit more free time to be working on internships or being involved in clubs on campus or just focusing a little bit more on other classes to keep your GPA high.
Or even taking classes over the summer to open up future semesters to be able to work a fall or spring co-op is another option too. Like if you're able to get ahead in classes, both you and I were ahead in classes, so we were able to work fall or spring co-ops.
And I want to offer, I think we can close out this point now, unless you have do you have anything else to say? Because I do want to offer a really unique insight.
I think we're good.
Cool. So a thing too is that these co-op positions, if you haven't worked an internship yet, and let's say your first, second summers have gone by and you didn't work an internship, and you're about to start senior year, consider that co-op because if you're going to graduate, let's say you're going to be starting senior year next fall, right? and you haven't worked any internship yet, and it doesn't look like anything's going to happen this summer, but if you can get a co-op, you might delay graduation. Lots of factors go into account whether that's the right decision for you. But if you do delay graduation and then push a May graduation to December, you then literally open up another potential summer before you graduate. And that's an extra internship opportunity. So next thing you know, you're not just graduating with one about 3-month internship if you were to have gotten one this summer, but you then get, let's assume, a 4 or 5 month co-op, and then assume you get that an internship during that new summer you just bought yourself. You're now graduating with the game literally changed for you. You're graduating with 7 months of internship work experience.
And also and you get 7 months of internship work experience, 7 months of being paid for that work, because we talk about paid internships here. And then you also get 7 months of being able to understand whether or not that industry, that role, that company is the right fit for you when you do graduate, so that you're aware of what your expectations are and what you want your full-time job to be after graduation.
And I think I just really like this idea for students to consider, because if you think about it, if you have if you have a May graduation and then you work a co-op, delay that graduation, push that to December, let's assume you do get an internship during that extra summer and you work that co-op, you literally just got yourself 7 months of experience before graduating. So that's a really interesting thing I think students should think about. So otherwise, thank you everybody for joining us on today's episode of the Intern Club. If you want to learn more about how we can help you get a paid internship, check out the description. And if you have any questions that we want you to, or you want us to answer, then just leave a comment and we'll take a look.